Hello, I'm Sandra Lee with miracleinspirations.com and the Breathe Life Inspirations blog. I have been doing an Ask Me Anything series on my business page, and I'm moving it, at least for right now, to my regular homepage. And today I want to talk about something that I have spoken with so many times with massage clients over the years that I think most people aren't aware of. So I'm going to talk about inflammation and how inflammation builds scar tissue and how this contributes to tight muscles. So many people I have worked with in 28 years as a massage therapist who have tight muscles. That's a lot of the reason why people go to massage. And I help people understand the role of inflammation in that. Because inflammation comes from a lot of different things. So what happens when you have inflammation is it contributes to pain and to tight muscles. This is what I tell people. Anytime you have inflammation, you are creating scar tissue. Anytime you have inflammation for any reason, your body is going to be laying down scar tissue. It's important that my body be able to have inflammation, that I be able to make inflammation. It's an important part of how my body deals with injury or illness or infection. All of those require that my body have the ability to create inflammation to be able to go in and repair damage, heal, isolate, remove toxins, remove garbage. It's part of how the immune system works. So imagine, I'm going to say that I hit my hand. I fall and I hit my hand. So what happens? There's injury there. Even if it's just a little bit sore, there's some injury there. But if I really hurt myself, I cut myself, or I break something, or I sprain my wrist, then there is significant injury there. So it's like anywhere on that injury spectrum, there is something that my body needs to do to heal this hand, to repair it. Even if it's just a paper cut, there's still something my body has to repair. So when I have that injury happen, my body has to go in and keep me from further injuring it. So imagine I fall and I hurt my wrist pretty badly. If I didn't have mechanisms in my body that go in and stabilize this and make it less likely for me to severely injure it more, I need my body to stabilize it. So the body brings in the fluid that has supplies for repair. Scar tissue is a big part of how the body does that. So imagine I've injured my wrist, and it's pretty badly, and so it needs to repair this, and so it brings in the materials to be able to stabilize it. So if I've hurt this pretty badly, and I don't want it to rupture further, so say I were to fall again, or I were to try and lift something, I could really hurt myself if my body were not trying to stabilize it. So imagine I have, a pretty significant cut here, and the body wants to hold that together so that I can't severely hurt it. How does it do that? This is how I describe it. My body puts Band-Aids. It takes Band-Aids and it slaps it all over that. The Band-Aids are scar tissue. Little fibers that my body uses to hold things together. So individual little pieces of scar tissue. So imagine my body is laying down scar tissue all over the place to keep this from completely separating and rupturing. I need my body to do that. Anytime I've injured myself, there is a potential danger of further injury. So my body's going in there with scar tissue to hold those pieces together is helping me. I need my body to be able to create this inflammation for the purposes of doing that. So what is inflammation? you have blood coming in through the arteries and the capillaries, and it goes out into the tissues here. How does the nutrients that my body has in the bloodstream get to where it needs to go? It's delivered by the arteries and the capillaries, and then the fluid leaves the capillaries. Here's a capillary. A capillary is a blood vessel that is 1 cell in diameter, very, very small. And there is only 1 layer of cells on the borders of this capillary, so that the fluid and the nutrients, the molecules that are inside the bloodstream that need to get out here to the tissue for the repair, it needs to be able to go from the capillary out into the tissue. So fluid, nutrients, supplies, proteins, all of these things are coming in through the blood and leaving the blood vessels to go out into the tissue. And I need it to do that. So it comes with all these supplies to be able to put the Band-Aids in place and to start repairing this damage. So what happens next? Because the fluid and the waste material, so the process of cleaning this up also creates a lot of garbage. Damaged tissue that needs to be pulled out. There might be toxins, there might be waste. All of this metabolic stuff, and stuff needs to be cleaned up, is hanging out here in the tissues. How does it get back into the circulation again? Because I need it to get back into the circulation. So imagine I've hurt my hand, right? And then it swells up, right? There's excess fluid in there. That's inflammation. So this excess fluid needs to be able to get back into the bloodstream some way. And then we're going to talk about the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system is the whole second part of the circulatory system. So the arteries bring the blood in, and then the parts of the blood that don't leave the blood vessels, don't leave the capillaries, they go through the veins back up to the heart. But that's just the blood circulation. Arteries bring it in, veins bring it back to the heart. And most of the blood does do that. But the part that is left from the capillaries into the tissues, the fluid, okay, how does it get back into the blood system, back into the blood circulation? We have the lymphatic vessels. The lymphatic vessels are like open-ended vacuum hoses that are out in the tissue. So imagine this is the tissue of my hand out here. And the lymphatic vessels have these little open-ended hoses that go into the tissue. And when I use the muscle over here, the fluid gets squeezed into these open-ended hoses and it goes back up into the blood circulation. This is the way I talk to my massage clients about it. So it's like using the muscle or moving something out here causes the fluid to go into these open-ended hoses, and muscle movement squeezes it back up into the circulation. So that's how we get this excess fluid out here that's out here in the tissue space to go back into the circulation again. And we need all that to happen. So you have these two parallel circulatory systems, the arteries and the veins that move the blood, and then the lymphatic system that picks up this excess fluid and puts it back into circulation. So when I have the fluid that's left the capillaries and goes out into the tissues, provides the supplies for healing, the Band-Aids, okay? Anytime I have inflammation, and that's this fluid hanging out here in space, that's inflammation. Anytime I have inflammation, it's laying down scar tissue. So it's obvious why that's happening when I have an active injury. If there's an infection here, that's also needed. Blood needs to bring in supplies, antibodies to be able to, attack whatever needs to be attacked. Supplies, enzymes and things to break things up and all that. That creates waste. Okay? But sometimes there's a reason why we have inflammation that's not associated with either injury or infection. What might that be? We've talked about in my previous Facebook Lives which are all on YouTube, by the way. If you want to go see, I have like over 30 of these Facebook Lives that I've recorded, and they are all on YouTube, where you can access them easily. So in some of my earlier Facebook Lives, I have been talking about food and toxins, and how when we are eating toxic food, bad food, too much sugar, all these things create an increase in inflammation in the body. Because anytime there is a toxic substance in my body, part of how my body deals with that is also inflammation. So it might not be because of an injury, but it might be because basically I've poisoned myself. When I eat food that has toxins in it, my body has to bring in resources to be able to clean up that garbage and pull it out and get rid of it, in essence. I mean, it's more complicated than that. I also talked about how when we have excess blood sugar from eating sugar, or eating too many carbohydrates, that also creates an inflammatory condition. So if I have inflammation for any reason, it's laying down scar tissue. Because the body only has a limited number of ways to deal with a danger. Thinking about when we were primitive peoples, and the primary dangers we had were we were going to hurt ourselves, like falling and hurting ourselves. An animal was going to harm us, kill us, injure us, or infection, bacteria. Those were really the only things that caused people to be so sick that they died. So our bodies have a limited number of responses to deal with whatever might be coming. It thinks it's an injury or an infection. Those are the only things our bodies really understand how to deal with. So when we have chemicals in our food or excessive sugar consumption, which wasn't available to primitive peoples, sugar mostly wasn't available, except for the occasional, honey that they would get, which is all at once. So our bodies only have these limited ways of responding, one of them being very powerful, inflammation, and the immune system. Be able to deal with physical injury or infection. But it has the same response to toxic chemicals. Our bodies weren't designed to be able to deal with petrochemicals, because none of those things existed when our bodies learned how to function, how to develop. So we have an onslaught of these toxins. Stress also. Stress creates a tremendous injury, basically, on the body that results in inflammation as well. So there's so many different reasons why we wind up having inflammation, but just understanding that our body doesn't have different kinds of inflammation. I mean, there might be a little bit different substances in this, lymphatic fluid, but basically what I tell people is anytime you have inflammation, you're laying down scar tissue. So if you have inflammation for reasons other than injury or infection, you're still going to be laying down scar tissue. So if you have tight shoulders from stress or from overwork or too much responsibility, you're going to have pain there. Part of why there's pain is because there's inflammation. And if because of your stressful lifestyle or overworking or overusing your body or repeated minor injuries, like working out too much, that creates lots of micro injuries. If you have that ongoing inflammatory state, you're laying down scar tissue, which contributes to the muscle tightness that people have. So over the years, the number of times I've helped people understand this when they come for massage, because their back or their shoulders or whatever are really tight. Deal with the stress part. Deal with the diet part. The other reasons, the not so obvious reasons why you might have inflammation that is creating scar tissue. is contributing to the tightness in your shoulders. So, not sure how clear that was. It was a little bit all over the place because I didn't think about before the many different ways that inflammation is created and how it ends up producing scar tissue and tight muscles. So, this is Sandra Lee with MiracleInspirations.com and the Breathe Life Inspirations blog. All of my Facebook Lives are on YouTube. I'm going to put a link to the YouTube so you can find all the ones that I talk about, food and all the other things that I talk about. Thanks for watching. If there's anything in particular you want me to do in one of these lives, then let me know. Because I've been doing these lives every weekday, I'll continue this for a little while here on my personal page. So thanks. Have a wonderful day. Bye.